two kids in a park and they don't like each other and they start fighting. Sometimes you have to let them fight. Let them see that it's tough, it's tough. Fighting is tough. And he's done an amazing job. Look, he's been very effective. Now he's had the best equipment because he's had our equipment, and he's had great. But somebody has to use that equipment, and you have a lot of brave people that are using that equipment. And Russia, it's a big country, but it's a big force. Russia's always been a big fighting force, so it's. But I really believe it's ready. It's very interesting because you'd almost say it's worse than ever, and maybe it isn't. Sometimes with war, and you study war, and I've studied it so long, for years, long before I did this, sometimes it's when it gets the worst. And I don't know that it's the worst right now. It's consistently bad. They lost 25,000 people were lost, kids, young people, last month. And we had a month, 35 2 months ago. And I would say more Russians. And but it's just, they're people. They're people. And there's actually very little difference between the people. I mean, it's like the Russians and Ukrainian people. And they can get along, but it's a nasty war. Thousands and thousands, mostly soldiers, are being killed. The battlefields, I see pictures and it's horrible. He thinks it's horrible. We all think it's horrible. And the president wants to get it done, and I believe that President Putin wants to get it done, and that should be a good combination. Thank you.
Mr. President, what is your assessment of Ukraine's strike on Russian oil refineries and military factories?
Where are you from?
Ukraine.
Phrase the question differently, please.
Ukraine delivered long strikes on Russian military factories and on oil refineries, and they ran out of gas.
Marco, why don't you answer that, because you're right in the middle of it.
Yeah, no, I think what you're discussing is the ability of Ukraine to reach deep inside of Russia and conduct strikes. I think that's one of the dynamics that's changed in this war over the last few months, and that is that the Russians are finding it more difficult to defend their own airspace. And what we hope that means is that it's going to create the space now to negotiate the end of this war.
It's an escalation, but it's also an escalation that can help lead to an end. And,
Mr. President, Mr. Putin might be seeking for the settlement.
so where are you from?
Radio Free Europe's Ukrainian service. I'm from Ukraine.
Okay, good. Because I talked to him. I talked to President Zelensky, and I think that's all I've done. My whole life I made deals. I guess becoming president was making a deal, right? It was like a lot of little individual things. In the end, it's making a deal. And that's what I do. And I do it well, and I know when people want to make a deal. I think he wants to make a deal. And I do feel that President Zelensky would like to get back to rebuilding his country as opposed to, having all of this death and destruction. Ukraine has tremendous potential. He understands that. We talk about that. He talks about that more than he talks about the war. To me, I think you might find that more exciting than the war. It's brutal. The other is the beauty of it. I think he'll build a great country. I think he's going to build it. We have a little stake in that country now because we have some land in that country where we have minerals. It's among the wealthiest, it's among the best land anywhere in the world for rare earth. And we have some rare earth. I look forward to taking advantage of it at the right time.
Mr. President, Europe to make Patriot missiles
look at this guy. He's one of my favorite soldiers. I see him. He's central casting. Right? You doing okay?
Yes.
We see him at meetings. He's done a great job. Great job.
Trying to do our best.
Yeah. Great hero, actually.
Mr. President, will you allow Europe to make Patriot interceptors in Europe? Are you comfortable with licensing that technology?
About what? Tell me.
Patriot interceptors to be made in Europe.
And you're talking with respect to Ukraine. Well, we're going to talk about that. Look, it's a defensive weapon, which I like, better than an offensive weapon. It's the best. So I was saying we have an aircraft carrier which is one of the most beautiful in the world. It's one of the biggest, the Abraham Lincoln. And 2 months ago, we had 100, I told this story yesterday, we had 111 missiles shot by the Islamic Republic of Japan. They were shot at the aircraft carrier over a period of about 1 hour. 111 missiles going to a very expensive ship, and every one of those missiles was knocked down. Pretty much most by Patriots, but by other means also, as you know.
Yeah.
Other less expensive means. It's even better when you do that. But out of the 111 missiles, every one of them was shot down. It didn't hit the ship, and bad things happen, right, when that happens. So think of that, over a period of 1 hour, these missiles are coming at you, and every one of them shot down. So I think one of the things we're going to be talking about is, as you know, the companies, we have great power over the companies. Those companies that make the Patriot and make all of the great stuff, the Tomahawks, all of the great stuff. We have the best stuff. Many things. The Patriot's great, but we have many, many great things. You see that with Venezuela. You see it with Iran. Look, Iran has been wiped out. Iran, their Navy's gone, their Air Force is gone, everything's gone. But one of the things I think we're going to be talking about today, a little birdie told me this, about the fact that we'll give them the right to make Patriots. We'll show them how to do it. It's very complex, actually, but it's you'll figure out the complexity quickly. And we're talking about that, and the company that makes them, which is building now 4 plants, all of our companies will be able to do this in 2 to 3 months. If you order a Patriot, now you have to wait a long time for them. Same thing with Tomahawks. We have a lot of certain equipment, but with they call it the elite equipment, and you don't need elite equipment necessarily for a war. But so one of the things we're going to be talking about is we're going to give a license to you to make Patriots. That's pretty cool, right? This way you can't complain that we're not giving them enough. I say make them yourself. We haven't informed the company of that yet, but that'll work out all right. Sure they'll be thrilled. But they'll be able to do it. You'll be able to figure that out. Most countries couldn't do that. Yeah. If I said that to most countries, they wouldn't know what I'm talking about. But this is a very ingenious group, and what I like about that, it's a defensive situation as opposed to an offensive. But I think one of the things you might want to be talking about is that. That's what I heard. Little birdie told me that. Go
President, on Iran, can you clarify, does the end of the ceasefire mean that we are back to a full-scale
Well, as far as I'm concerned,
conflict?
They violate the agreement every day. They lie, they cheat, they kill people. They've been killing people for 47 years. They knocked out the SS Cole. We lost, 200 people more. That was a long time ago. For 47 years, no president did anything about that. Well, Obama actually gave them vast amounts of money. You'd like this. He gave them a plane load of money, $1.7 billion in green cash. They loaded up a Boeing 757. Remember the old 750? It was a beautiful plane loaded up with cash. They took all the seats out, and they took all of the cash from Virginia, Maryland, and D.C. banks. They had no money. They took every ounce of cash, put it in, flew it to Iran, and gave them the money. I wonder what these guys thought of when the door opened and cash fell out of this big plane, beautiful plane. And then on top of that, they gave them billions and billions of dollars. And by the way, they gave it to the wrong country, frankly. You want to know the truth. And it began. That was pretty much the Obama deal. That was one of the worst tragedies that happened. That's what happened in the Middle East. That deal set back that whole situation. They went with it. Frankly, they picked the wrong country. They picked the wrong country. POC. What a terrible deal. I call it the Obama nuclear waste deal, because what he did with that deal is he caused tremendous hardship in the Middle East. It was a terrible, terrible thing to do. And we've been just the opposite. Our deal is a wall to a nuclear weapon. His deal was a road to a nuclear weapon. They'll never build a nuclear weapon under our deal, but I don't know if we're going to have a deal. we may just do it without a deal. Because you know what? It's easier. Because these people,
What does
they
that
lie
look like
and they cheat,
specifically?
and you have an agreement, and they'll go outside. For instance, they agreed, well, we'll never have a nuclear weapon. They agreed. Then they go outside to have a news conference, or they leak that we never discussed the subject. Now, who would believe we never discussed the subject? Because for me, that's 99.9% of what we're doing. It's denuclearization of Iran, okay? So, when you ask, our guys can continue. You know, Steve is great, and Jared, and all the guys. They know him very well. Yeah, actually, they're working on your stuff, too. I wonder which. I picked two beauties. You know what? We settled 8 wars. I got a couple of beauties here. But Steve's great, and Jared's great. You know, they're the right guys. And we'll see what happens. But I will say this. Iran, they've misbehaved for 47 years. They've killed our soldiers, they've killed our people, and they've killed a lot of people all over the Middle East and elsewhere. And the roadside bomb was their preferred, the preferred weapon was by Soleimani, the roadside bomb, where it would explode under a truck. We actually built trucks with floors, steel this thick. And then all they did was they made bigger bombs. And we have young guys around, not walking around because they have no legs, but their legs were blown off, their arms were blown off, their face was blown off, and they live because of modern medicine. You can do anything, but they're living like in hell. Their whole life changed because of Iran, and that was 96% of the people that used that. They were made in Iran, and so we have a score to settle too.
What about the naval blockade, sir?
Mr. President, you say that President Putin is ready to finish this war. What if he doesn't? Are you ready to put pressure on Russia? Are you ready to
Well, we have a
impose
lot of
sanctions?
pressure. We have a lot of pressure on President Putin. You know, I don't think he likes what's going on. I don't think he's thrilled with what's happening. There's a lot of pressure on President Putin to get it done. I think there's pressure on everybody to get that one done. A lot of pressure.
What's your security guarantee for Ukraine?
The guarantee?
Yeah, security
Well,
guarantee for
the
Ukraine.
security guarantee you're
Yeah.
talking about? I mean, not that we want to do it. We'll do it to save lives. Look, Ukraine's very far away. We have an ocean separating us. What I'm doing is I'm trying to save lives. A lot of lives are being lost. I also think that it's a country with great potential. I think if this kind of brain power can go toward rebuilding the country instead of fighting a war, I think that country's going to do fantastically well. And likewise, Russia, look, they're devoting a lot of energy. Do you have a question for President Putin? President, do you have a question for President Putin? Not Zelensky, Putin. Yeah, what would you like to ask him? Because I'm going to ask him that question.
I have a question. Last year you called Russia a paper tiger, referring that they're not doing
Who did I call?
I contacted the Ukrainian media.
No, give us a question, not for Zelensky, give us a question for Putin. Because I'm speaking to him today.
Yeah.
Give me a good, hard question.
When will he end this war?
That's a good question. I don't think I've ever asked him that question. I'm going to ask him that question.
Mr. President, what's the status of a drone deal between the U.S.
Say
and
it?
Ukraine? What's the status?
By the way,
of a
I will tell you, though, he's going to tell you that he wants it ended as soon as he can end it.
Do you
He
believe
wants it
that?
ended. He wants to end it soon. And I ask him, and we talk. I talk to him a lot. I talk to him a little bit less, but the relationship is very good. But I talk to President Putin a lot. He wants to end the war. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't believe that.
Doesn't he
What's
want
the
all
status
the
of a drone deal between Ukraine?
What are President Putin's conditions for ending the war? Do you know what?
Well, they were certain conditions that were a little bit different. I think they're changing. I think they're probably getting a little bit better toward some of the things that you'd like. It's been tougher in Russia. It's been a lot tougher than it was supposed to be. I mean, in all fairness, this was supposed to be this is a war that would have never happened if I were president. Would have never happened. You'd have a full country, I mean, just a shame that it happened. But no, this is something that I think Zelensky wants to do and Putin wants to do. They want to get it done. Ask the president that question. Ask him.
Пане президенте, ви знаєте, на яких зараз умовах Володимир Путін готовий завершувати війну в Україні? Чи ж вони змінилися?
Go ahead.
No, I don't know what I don't know what conditions Putin now wants for this peace. So I think that they are changing in any way, because at the very beginning of full-scale war, he was stronger, and now I think he is losing initiative on the battlefield. I think his army. But that's why I think that because of technologies, because it's not the question now of number of people. People, our heroic people, are very important. But now it's not the question of only number of people. First of all, people and technologies. People with technologies. Now I think that we have better steps, technological steps further than Russia. Maybe quicker. Because you know that they produce a lot of different things which are tough, strong against us, but we are quicker. And that's why I think that now initiative moved to our hands. Not totally, but moved. We are trying to move this war to the sky from the battlefield. That's why we now began to control the battlefield. This is very important. It's difficult when you have less people to move them back, but we found another way how to do it, to cut their logistic for their army. It's about weapon, petrol, diesel, without massive human losses. That is the difference between us, by the way. Russia is...
He's got a lot of support. I just left the room with, where they have, mostly European, Canada, but mostly European countries. And they have great support for Ukraine, and really great support. One of the things you talk about questions for Putin, but one of the things that I talked to him about was where would you want to meet? And he said ideally in Moscow. I said you're not going to meet in Moscow. It just doesn't work. You can't do that. But he'll meet, and Zelensky's going to meet, and something's going to happen that's going to be positive. And I hope it's going to happen soon, because they have to, number one, lives, but number two, building your country, because it's got a tremendous future, in my opinion. Yeah.
Where would it be held, and when would that happen?
I don't know.
Mr. President,
President Putin said, I would love to meet in Moscow. And I said, I don't think, I have to put myself in his position. I don't know that he'd go to Moscow. Maybe he would. Would you go to Moscow?
It's difficult. There are a lot of Ukrainian drones there. That's why. It's dangerous. It will be dangerous by drone. Europe.
No, it's hard. It's hard to go to Moscow. It's a little hard. I thought I'd answer that question to him. I didn't want to ask him that question.
Mr. President, how to ensure that Ukraine will not be attacked again by Russia?
What about?
How to make sure that Ukraine will not be attacked by Russia again?
Look, you mean in the future?
अमरीकी सदर डोनाल्ड ट्रंप यूक्रेन के सदर के हमले से गुफ्तगू कर रहे थे, जिसका कुछ हिस्सा आपने मुलाहिजा किया।
और अब न्यूज
हेडलाइंस के लिए ताउन किया है
पाकिस्तान बेस्ट हेयर फॉल सॉल्यूशन
बेल इन्वर्टर ऑन, गर्मी का स्मार्ट सॉल्यूशन,
क्योंकि एक ऑफर में पूरा ग्रुप फिट।
मैंने आपको बड़े ऑपरेशंस बताए, इनमें 4 सिविलियन पहले और बाद में पुलिस के हमारे जवान, फौज के जवान, तो टोटल हमारी जो शहादतें हैं वो 42 कीमती जानें इस मुल्क, अल्लाह ताला को उन्होंने अपनी जानें सुपुर्द की हैं, अपने मुल्क का हिफाजत करते हुए, बहादुरी के साथ लड़ते हुए। 54 दहशतगर्द जो से हैं, जो हमारे पास कन्फर्म्ड हैं, डेड बॉडीज जो कि जहन्नुम हासिल हुई।
बलूचिस्तान में 4 रोज के दौरान झड़पों और ऑपरेशंस में 54 दहशतगर्द मारे गए। GOC समेत सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस और पुलिस के 42 जवान शहीद। ज़ियारत में शहीद होने वाले तमाम पुलिस एहलकार मकामी थे। हन्ना उड़क के वाक़ये में 4 अफराद जाँ बहक हुए। मांगी डैम वाक़ये में तो 9 पुलिस एहलकार शहीद हुए, 15 खारजी हलाक हुए। सिर्फ आज ही खारान और दालबंदीन में 14 दहशतगर्दों को अंजाम तक पहुंचाया गया। लेफ्टिनेंट जनरल अहमद शरीफ की ब्रीफिंग। कहा, बलोचिस्तान में भारत दहशतगर्दी करवा रहा है। भारतीय सरजमीन दहशतगर्दी में इस्तेमाल हो रही है। कोई माई का लाल पाकिस्तान को खौफजदा नहीं कर सकता। तर्जुमान पाक फौज की ब्रीफिंग।
करवा रहा है हिंदुस्तान, ये करवा रहा है वो कुव्वतें, वो एनिमी कुव्वतें हिंदुस्तान के साथ जिनको पाकिस्तान की इज्जत, पाकिस्तान की खुशहाली और स्टेबिलिटी बर्दाश्त नहीं होती। एंड दे आर यूजिंग द टेरिटरीज अंडर द कंट्रोल ऑफ दिस इलिजिटिमेट अफगान तालिबान रजीम।
मुल्क दुश्मन अनासिर को पाकिस्तान की कामयाबी बर्दाश्त नहीं। ज्यादातर हालात दहशतगर्दों का ताल्लुक अफगानिस्तान से होता है। कराची में हमला हुआ, 4 हमला आवरों में से 3 अफगान थे। कराची हमले की सारी प्लानिंग अफगानिस्तान में हुई। अफगान तालिबान रजीम दहशतगर्दों में पावर फराहम कर रही है। उनको पाकिस्तान की तरक्की और इज्जत से मसला है। बलोचिस्तान पाकिस्तान की जान और शान है। बलोचिस्तान की खुशहाली एक हकीकत है जिसे कोई नहीं बदल सकता। दहशतगर्दी के मामले पर फील्ड मार्शल और हुकूमत का मौक़िफ़ बहुत वाज़ेह है। दहशतगर्दों का हर जगह ताक़ुब किया जाएगा। DGISPR ने वाज़ेह कर दिया।
Law enforcement has arrested approximately 24 defendants across the United States, Canada, and Europe, and we've executed 42 search warrants within the Central District of California and the Eastern District of California.
भारत से मुंसलिक गैंग्स अमेरिका और यूरोप में जराइम में मुलव्विस निकले। अमेरिकी महकमा इंसाफ ने भारतीय गैंग्स के टारगेट किलिंग और मनशियात फरोशी में मुलव्विस होने की तस्दीक कर दी। ऑपरेशन हार्ड बॉल के तहत भारतीय गैंग्स के खिलाफ बड़ी कार्रवाई की गई। 37 मुल्जिमान पर भत्ताखोरी, असलहा, मनशियात और कत्ल के मुकदमा दर्ज।
They're wasting their time. We make a deal. Everyone's agreed. No nuclear weapons. There's something wrong with them. They're cuckoo.
अमरीकी सदर ने ईरान के साथ जंगबंदी और इस्लामाबाद मुफाहमती याददाश्त को खत्म होने का ख्याल जाहिर कर दिया और कहा कि ईरान के मामले पर बहुत वक्त जाया कर चुके हैं, अब काम करना होगा। ताहम ख्वाहिश का इजहार किया कि वो आज भी ईरान के साथ डील करना चाहते हैं। अनकरा में नेटो इजलास के मौके पर दावा किया कि गुज़श्ता रोज सऊदी अरब समेत दीगर ममालिक के जहाजों पर हमले किए गए, जिसकी जवाबी कार्रवाई में ईरान के खतरनाक लोगों पर सख्त हमले हुए। बावर कराया कि ईरान की तमाम क़यादत खत्म कर दी गई, अब वहाँ नए लोग हैं। तेहरान किसी सूरत जौहरी हथियार नहीं रख सकता। ट्रंप ने अमरीकी मौक़िफ़ दोहरा दिया।
अमरीकी सदर ने नेटो पर गैर मुनसिफाना सलूक करने का इल्ज़ाम लगा दिया। कहा, अमरीका नेटो में गैर मुतनाज़िब अखराजात बर्दाश्त कर रहा है। ईरान के खिलाफ वाशिंगटन की कोई मदद नहीं की। अनकरा में नेटो इजलास के मौके पर गुफ्तगू में ईरान और ग्रीनलैंड के मामले पर नेटो से नाराज़गी का इजहार। वाज़े किया, नेटो ममालिक को रूस से बचाने के लिए $1 ट्रिलियन खर्च किए। ग्रीनलैंड को वाशिंगटन के लिए बड़ा मसला करार दे दिया। वज़ीर ख़ज़ाना स्कॉट बेसेंट को स्पेन के साथ तमाम तिजारत ख़त्म करने की हिदायत कर दी।
मशरक़े वुस्ता में फिर जंग के बादल मंडलाने लगे। अमरीका और ईरान एक दूसरे के फौजी तनसीबात पर हमले। अमरीका का फ़ज़ाई दिफाई निज़ाम, साहरी रडार, तनसीबात, एंटी शिप मिसाइल की सलाहियतों समेत 80 अहदाफ को निशाना बनाने का दावा। सिरक में 6 मिसाइल आन गिरे। जजीरा खाग, कुशुम और बंदर अब्बास में धमाके सुने गए। बंदरगाह पर तिजारती और माहीगिरी के मकामात को हदफ बनाया गया। कई अफराद जख्मी हुए। माहीगिरों की कई कश्तियां जल गईं।